Is it possible to become twice as valuable and make twice as much money in the same? Is that possible? The answer is yes.
안녕하세요. 인간계조 영광로입니다. 오늘은 미국의 기업가이자 작가, 미국 역사상 가장 영향력 있는 강사인 고 짐론의 영상을 소개해드리려고 합니다. 과거 미국에서 열린 한 세미나에서 짐론이 삶을 주도하는 방법에 대한 강연을 시작합니다.
That's the theme of our seminar tonight. The major key to your better future is you. And I'd like to have you underline two words just to give it some added punch. Underline the word major and the word you, so that it reads, the major key to your better future is you. Now, my first suggestion is transfer this to a card or something where you can put it up, where you can see it every day. Preferably put it up where you can see it at the beginning of the day, before you go off to put the day together. If you'll just let this talk to you during the day, I found it to be tremendously helpful. The major key to your better future is you. Many things used to puzzle me back in those early days. I used to wonder why two people could work for the same company, one make twice as much money. And maybe they were the same age, graduated from the same school, live in the same community, work for the same company, with the same products and the same services, and one makes $1,000 a month, the other one makes $2,000 a month. Why would this long list be the same and the money twice as much? But what makes the difference? Why would one person do twice as well? I thought, well, maybe time makes some of the difference, right? Some people do better because they have more time. I used to say, Harold ought to be able to do well. He's got a lot of time. If I had all of Harold's time, I could do well. Number one, you can't get somebody else's time. A guy says to me one time, he says, you know, if I had some extra time, I could make some extra money. I said, then forget it. There isn't any extra time. Now, if you can't get more time, which you can't, what could you get more of that would make a difference in economic results? And here's the key word. The word is value. Value makes the difference in results. You can't get more time, but you can create more value. Everybody should learn it from the time they're old enough to understand what a dollar means, how to earn one, how to get one, how to keep one, what to do with it. First lesson of economics. We primarily get paid for value. Bringing value to the marketplace, that's how you get paid. You don't get paid for the time. I know it takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but you get paid for the value, not the time. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the evening. Is it possible to become twice as valuable at the marketplace and make twice as much money in the same time? Could you become 3 times as valuable, make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? The answer is yes. Life is known as the big if. And here's the big if we're going to consider it tonight. It's possible to do much better at the marketplace if you go to work primarily on yourself. Learning to work primarily on yourself. People have asked me for the last 24 years, how do you develop an above average income? And the answer is, become an above average person. Develop an above average handshake. Some people want to be successful, they don't even work on their handshake. As easy as that would be to start on. They let it slide, they don't understand. Develop an above average smile. Develop an above average excitement. Develop an above average interest in other people. Develop an above average intensity to win. See, that'll change everything. Probably one of the most frustrating experiences in life is looking for an above average job with above average pay without becoming an above average person. It's called frustration. And Mr. Schoaf gave me probably the greatest clue he gave me when I first met him. He said, Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy the rest of your life, just learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Then Mr. Schoaf gave me probably one of the most important clues. I did a seminar one time for Standard Oil executives and management in Honolulu. And we're having a conference one day on this big conference table. And one of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, you know some fairly important people halfway around the world. What do you think the 80s are going to be like? I said, gentlemen, I can't tell you. So they all listened very carefully. And I said, gentlemen, based on my wide experience, I can really honestly say to you, in my opinion, in the 80s, it's going to be about like it's always been. It's going to be about like it's always been. It isn't going to change. For 6,500 years that we know of, recorded history, and probably long before that. So it is not going to change. And if the sun goes down, the guy says, what's happened, what's happened? It means he hasn't been here long, I guess, right? It always goes down about this time. In rotation, the next season after fall is what? Winter. Pray tell, how often does winter follow fall? Every year regularly for the last 6,500 that we know of. See, it is not going to change. Now, some winters are long, and some are short, and some are hard, and some are easy, but they always come right after falls. It isn't going to change. Sometimes you can figure it out, sometimes there's no way to figure it out. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it sails along, sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change. The last 6,000 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. It isn't going to change. The man says, well, if it isn't going to change, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. 2 key phrases for your notes. Here's the first one. Life and business is like the changing seasons. One of the best ways to describe life, it's like the seasons. Now here's the second phrase, very important. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. And see, that's how life gets better for you, not by chance, but by change. Now here's the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Number 1, learn how to handle the winters. They come right after falls, with regularity. Some are long and some are short and some are hard and some are easy, but they keep coming. You must learn to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn to handle difficulty. It comes right after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They always follow progressions. For the last 6,000, see, it isn't going to change. The lesson you must learn is how to handle it. And there's all kinds of winters, right? Economic winters, social winters, personal winters. The winter when you can't figure it out. The winter when it all goes smash. The winter when it turns belly up, when you've run out of money and you've got a broken heart. See, those are winter times. But see, the disappointments come. Those are normal. That's part of life. But the question is, how do you handle it? You can't get rid of January by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do. You can get stronger, you can get wiser, and you can get better. The winters won't change, but you can. And that's how life changes for you. See, before I understood, when it was winter, I used to wish it was summer. I didn't understand. When it was hard, I used to wish it was easy. I didn't know. And then Mr. Schoaf gave me a part of his very unique philosophy when he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. See, that triggered my whole life change. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. That's the key. So that's lesson 1. Learn how to handle the winters. Here's lesson 2. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. Spring is called opportunity. And spring follows winter. And pray tell, how often does spring follow winter? Every year with regularity, 6,000. See, opportunity always comes. Opportunity follows difficulty. But here's what you must learn to do. Underline these 2 words in that key phrase. Take advantage. You must learn to take advantage of the spring. See, just because spring rolls around is no sign you're going to look good come fall. You gotta do something with it. In fact, you have to get good at one of 2 things in life. Planting in the spring or begging in the fall. Or get somebody to do it for you. See, those are about the only alternatives. Now here's what else you must do. Take advantage of the springs quickly, because there's only a few. Just a handful of springs have been handed to each of us. Life is fairly brief. So you got to read every book you can get your hands on what to do with your springs while they're here. And take advantage, they soon run out. So whatever you're going to do with your life, you got to get at it. Don't just let the springs pass. Here's the 3rd major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to protect your crops all summer. You got to take care of what you start. Sure enough, as soon as you've planted your garden in the spring, the busy bugs and the noxious weeds are out to take it. And here's the next bit of truth. They will take it unless you prevent it. And that's the 3rd major skill to learn. You've got to learn to prevent the intruder from taking all the good you start. Here's 2 key phrases under number 3. First one, all good will be attacked on this planet. Every garden will be invaded. Not to think so is naive. And here's the second phrase. All values must be defended. Political values, social values, community values, family values, marriage values, friendship values. Every garden must be tended all summer. Third major lesson. Now here's number 4. Fourth major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. Learn to reap come harvest time without complaint. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. Accepting full responsibility. And another note, learn to reap in the fall without apology. Without apology if you do well, and without complaint if you don't. That's maturity. I used to have that long list of reasons why I wasn't doing well. To explain. I used to blame the government. I used to blame taxes. Look what you got left after they take everything. And they expect you to do well. I used to blame the weather. I blamed the traffic. I used to blame my car. I used to blame the company. I blamed company policy. I used to blame the economy. I blamed the community. That's a pretty good list for not doing well, isn't it? I thought it was good. I'll never forget one day, Mr. Schoaf was very kind, but he was also very blunt, and this was no exception. One day, with sort of a curious look on his face, he said, Jim, just out of curiosity, tell me, how come you haven't done well up until now? Excellent question. I'll go through my list. And this list I just gave you, I put that on him. He looked my list over very carefully. He said, Mr. Rohn, big problem with your list. You ain't on it. When I went to work for him a few months later, I learned very quickly to tear up my list, reasons for not doing well, and I threw it away. And I got me a fresh piece of paper. And I put one word on it. Me. See, I used to blame everything outside. And then let me give you a little philosophy that helped turn my life around. It's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens happens to about everybody. No different. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event, a happening. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happened. It's what you do that changes everything. So that's a key phrase. It's not what happens, it's what you do. Anything can happen, right? Everything can happen. I've heard all the stories. I've been one of the stories. Anything can happen. Have you heard of Murphy's Laws? Anybody here heard of Murphy's Laws? Okay, most of you have. One of them was, if anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's Laws. It's still true though, right? Anything can go wrong, everything can go wrong. Now, it wasn't all that much, but it was all I had. I mean, that's when it's much, right? When it's all you got. But see, those are the happenings, right? Everything can happen. Anything can happen. But it's not the happenings. It's what you do about it. Somebody says, yeah, but you don't understand the disappointments I've had. Everybody's had their share. Disappointments are not special gifts reserved for the poor. Everybody has them. The difference is what you do about it. It's not the weather. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. Two men wake up one morning, there's a rainstorm on. One of them looks out his window, sees the rainstorm, and he says, wow, what a storm. With weather like this, they can't expect you to go out and make sales. He stays home. Same morning, the other guy looks out his window, sees the same storm, says, wow, what a storm. But he says, you know what, with weather like this, what a great day to go out and make sales. Most everybody will probably be home, especially the salesman. See, that's the difference in how your life works out. It's not what happens, it's what you do. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? What are you going to do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? And see, that way you can guess what the next 5 years are going to be like. Look at the last 5. Because the next 5 are going to be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life. What can you do starting tomorrow that'll make a difference?